We are living in a volatile political environment. You could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorable.
Come on, man.
If the Trump administration approves a vaccine before or after the election, should Americans take it, and would you take it?
If the public health professionals, if Dr. Fauci, if the doctors tell us that we should take it, I'll be the first in line to take it. Absolutely. But if Donald Trump tells us that we should take it, I'm not taking it.
Come on, man. And if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
It was a debate.
Man, has it been hot. This is the first time my apartment has not felt like an oven. And which is why this episode is late. It's been sitting at I want to say around 10:30 in my apartment. It's been sitting at I don't know, 85 degrees, 90 degrees. I'm like, no. I have to run my computer a little hard to run everything that I need to do to record this. So I don't want to blow up my computer. Also, I don't want to sit here and have beads of sweat dripping down while I do the show either. And maybe, guys, put that down in the comment below for whoever's watching. What's the weather been like in your area? Because here, when it hits, 90 degrees, 95 degrees, it's apocalyptic. And the reason being is, one, we're little bitches here in Washington, and two, there's no air conditioning anywhere, only in stores. No apartments are built with air conditioning. No houses are built with air conditioning. I think the newer houses that are starting to get built now here in the Washington area on the other side of the mountains, the Seattle area, they're now being built with air conditioning in it because it's starting to get hotter over here. Is that climate change? I don't know. I don't know what that is. But in the comment below, let me know what the weather's been like in your area. Anyways, welcome everyone to another episode of the Deplorable Talk Show. You were here with Mr. Deplorable himself, Israel Perez. Now, you might be wondering, what is this disastrous thing I stumbled upon on YouTube or Rumble? Well, I will tell you what it is. You have stumbled upon a show where I give my unfiltered opinion on politics and culture. This is not a show for kids, nor is it a show for the intellectual minded. No. I know nothing about what I choose to talk about, but this is America where opinions are just like assholes. Everyone has one. I just choose to record mine and spread it on the internet. Anyways, we will start off today's show talking about Twitter suspending accounts that use the word groomer, which will be our first segment of the day called Trending. We will then jump into today's big lead, which will be about Trump's possible announcement for a presidential run, his new campaign slogan, and what might be his political agenda. But before we get into any of that, I told myself I wouldn't devote any time on my show to the Jan 6th committee. But the daughter of I like to slaughter people in the Middle East, Cheney, said something that upset me, so now I have to talk about it. While being interviewed on Fox, she said this.
There are several witnesses who say they met with President Trump on January 4th, and he offered some 20,000 National Guardsmen to protect the Capitol building on January 6th, but the offer was rejected. Is that true? Do you know that to be true?
Well, his own acting Secretary of Defense says that's not true. Chris Miller has testified publicly that Donald Trump never issued any order to deploy the Guard to protect the Capitol. And so I would point people to his own Secretary of Defense's public testimony. And we also know that on January 6th, while the attack was underway, Donald Trump did not place a single phone call to anyone at the Pentagon. He didn't place a single phone call to anyone at the Justice Department to say deploy law enforcement. He didn't place a single phone call to anybody at the Department of Homeland Security. And so the notion that somehow he issued an order is not consistent with the facts.
I am sorry, Liz Cheney, but you're a lying bitch. Just saying. So Liz Cheney just said Chris Miller, the active Secretary of Defense, testified publicly that Trump never issued an order to deploy the guards to protect the Capitol. That's not true. No, and how do I know it's not true? Because the Associated Press obtained an undisclosed document prepared by the Pentagon that was vetted by government officials that says that Chris Miller said in his public testimony is not true. The AP writes, these new details about the deadly riot are contained in previously undisclosed documents prepared by the Pentagon for internal use that was obtained by the Associated Press, vetted by current and former government officials. Let's scroll down here a little bit, huh? So, just 3 days earlier, government leaders had talked about the use of the National Guard on the afternoon of Jan 3rd, as lawmakers were sworn in on the new session of Congress. Miller and Milley gathered with cabinet members to discuss Jan 6th. They also met with Trump. In that meeting at the White House, Trump approved the activation of the D.C. National Guard and also told the acting defense secretary to take whatever action needed as events unfolded, according to the information obtained by the AP. The next day, Jan 4th, the defense official spoke by phone with cabinet members, including the acting attorney general, and finalized details of the Guard deployment. So, Trump told Miller to deploy the National Guard for Jan 6th and has full access to the use of the National Guard as he pleased. Okay. And Nancy Pelosi can deny it all she wants, but I guarantee you she was one of those cabinet members Miller spoke to on the phone about the deployment of the National Guard. So now one of two things is happening here. One, the AP is lying about obtaining undisclosed documents from the Pentagon that show communications between Trump, Miller, and Milley about deploying the National Guard. Or two, Miller lied in his testimony to the Jan 6 committee because there is no consequence for lying because there is no cross-examination to show that he is lying. It's probably the fucking latter. Jesus, man. It gets me upset that they constantly lie to us and to our faces when they know what they're doing isn't like it isn't something that like you would take to an actual court. There's no cross-examination happening, so nobody can actually sit there and pick apart what they're saying to make sure that they're telling the truth. It's a fucking circus. Anyways, speaking of upsetting things, let's get into a segment called Trending.
Trump was too liberal. Tweet.
You adjust the microphone as you talk, man. With a gracious aid.
So this is a segment where we will be looking at what was trending on Twitter. And Twitter has been a hotbed of activity these last couple of weeks. The newest controversy happening on Twitter is that they are suspending accounts that use the word groomer. And for those who don't know, groomer is a term used by the culture war by conservatives to describe the practice of indoctrinating kids to overtly sexual acts disguised as innocent teachings of the LGBTQ community. You know, and here's an example of what I'm talking about.
I've been wanting to do content around this day, which is really important to me as this is my first year as I'm out as a non-binary teacher. But it's hard. It's hard to think how to talk about it and how to make it pithy and catchy. And I sent what felt like a pretty vulnerable email out to my colleagues, suggesting a whole bunch of resources for each division and offering to come into their classes. And I'm so grateful to the 3 allies or accomplices who invited me into their class today to read. I just read They, She, He, Me, Free to Be to a grade 1 class, and
Why?
I just read this book to a grade 1 class, and one of the students came out as trans. Staff knew she was trans, and we talked to her parents last night about me coming in. and they'd given it the go-ahead, and it was such beautiful proof that kids of any age are absolutely capable of accepting anything that they are taught with love, because her class didn't bat an eyelid. Didn't bat an eyelid at me not being a man, woman, both or neither. Didn't bat an eyelid at her having been born a boy, and were able to make all kinds of beautiful personal connections. So please, no matter what age your kids are or what age you teach, it is so important that you teach them that trans people are valuable. Hey friends, I'm back after another class, still with my lovely N95 redness, and I just wanted to say, it's been such a powerful day. I had another...
Okay, we're done here. I'm done listening to her. Done. This is the thing. A first grader doesn't know what the fuck they want. That first grader just said they were trans, and probably in the next couple days is going to be fucking running around thinking there was a fucking goddamn Tyrannosaurus Rex. They can't choose those things because they don't understand what it means. They don't. They don't understand what it means to be transsexual. They can say that they understand all they want, but I really, really fucking doubt that they really know what it means. Or knows or even knows the consequences of what's going to happen to their body once they start taking these fucking drugs to slow down their hormones, to keep them from going through puberty. Or the consequences of getting their tits or dick chopped off. Which I don't think a first grade girl has tits, but still. Nonetheless, it's wrong. You're indoctrinating kids. You are confusing them. That's what they're doing. They're confusing them. They don't know what the fuck you're talking about. The word groomer has been trending since July 19th. As reported on Twitter Binder. Now, I'm doing this episode late, so Twitter Binder only rolls on a 7-day thing. So what I had is no longer there. And I have to pay absurd amount of money to show you what I was looking at. But they kind of saved my my report here. And as you can see, it was trending when I did my report. It had 111,000 tweets. And I would have shown you where it was like peaking at, but I'm not going to be able to do that. That's why I need to do these shows on time. But the sun. But the reason for it trending was because of tweets from Alejandra Caraballo, I think that's how you say her name, and this pink article. So let's bring that up. So the tweet from Alejandra says, Reddit will now enforce their hate speech policy on content that utilizes the groomer label. Content that equates LGBTQ people to groomers and pedophiles will violate the hate speech policy. Reddit is now more proactive than Twitter. Your move, Twitter, at Twitter safety. Yeah, I don't know what she's trying to prove there. But that was her tweet showing the new rules that were made on Reddit for the word groomer. And then shortly after that, Pink wrote this article. Anti-LGBT plus Q plus groomer slur banned on Reddit in a bid to tackle hate speech. Your move, Twitter. All right. just say that you took it from... Okay. Anyways, the Reddit has banned anti-LGBTQ plus slur under the hate speech policy, as well as other references to LGBTQ people as pedophiles. The vile slur, which conflates LGBTQ identities with pedophile, has been increasing in use online and has now been banned by Reddit as hate speech. Journalist Alejandra Caraballo explained on Twitter that the social media platform will enforce their hate speech policy on content that utilizes the groomer libel, which means that posts containing the slur will break Reddit's policy and could be taken down. The community against hate subreddits added that, as well as the groomer slur, Reddit will now enforce its hate speech policy on those who portray being transgender and mental illness, or quote transgender suicide statistics in a hateful way. Can't. Okay. Carabella added, you moved Twitter, referencing Twitter use compliance, that the social media site does not do enough to prevent hate speech. No, this is the thing, man. If you're not being hateful, if you were providing statistics on things that are happening to the LGBTQ community or transgender community, because from what it looks like, a lot of people who end up, going through with their, transformation, a lot of them commit suicide. And it's because they're not dealing with their mental, what they're going through mentally. And they think that, oh, if I just change, it's going to fix everything. I'm not going to be depressed anymore. And it doesn't. So now they just went through this painful transition and nothing was fixed mentally. And you can't, anyways. Both of them are wrong. And which is why I needed to use the Wayback Machine to access that article from Pink, because Pink deleted it because it was wrong what they were saying. Reddit did not ban the word groomer. The subreddit are against hate subreddits banned the word groomer from their subreddit. And for those who don't know, on Reddit, you make your subreddit. It's a community of people that come and join in the discussion that is happening throughout the day. There's a set of rules that you need to abide by in order to post in there. You basically get to make the rules for your own space. And they banned the word groomer. Not Reddit. It's a bunch of lies, man. But what's funny about this is the lie that Alejandra tweeted out, which then made Pink write an article, led to a little over a weekend trend of the word groomer. The people who see the word groomer as a slur aided in its trend, with people sending out tweets like this. So Tim Young, who is a comedian, Reddit has labeled the term groomer an anti-LGBT slur. In case you're wondering on where the platform stands on teachers being exposed for wanting to teach young children about sex behind their parents' backs in public school, it's not wrong. And that had, I should have just told you how much that was. Anyways. Reddit just banned the word groomer, which means that we're about to get a whole bunch of new words and phrases to use instead of groomer. Boom. Groomer, 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 groomer. That's all I saw throughout Twitter when this was going on. It's tweets like that. Coyote Outlaw. Groomer is now considered a slur and hate speech. If you need more proof, that's pedos are being protected, which is true. It kind of feels that way. Kind of feels like, they're starting to protect pedophiles. Just saying. And then, obviously, it's just heart there now. But Reddit bans the word groomer in a move that pleases groomers. And then Tim Pool. What the fuck? Opposing grooming kids is anti-LGBTQ. So, those are just some of the tweets that were rolling around on Twitter. And trust me, there was a lot more, and there was a lot more offensive stuff being said. But, of course, Twitter is looking for a reason to ban people from their platform. And feeling like they can't be outdone by Reddit. They took the bait and they banned the word groomer. The Daily Dot writes, Twitter says it's banned using groomer as an anti-LGBTQ slur, but its enforcement is lacking. Anyways, on Wednesday, the Daily Dot reported that a subreddit post inadvertently intensified pressure on Twitter to ban calling LGBTQ people groomers. Grooming is a slur that falsely equates being LGBTQ with being a pedophile. The slur has roots in the term's original meaning, which refers to how sexual predators coerce and manipulate children in order to abuse them. That's exactly what's happening. After the article published, Twitter provided a statement claiming that calling transgender or non-binary people groomers violates its policies against hate speech. We are, quote, we are committed to combating abuse motivated by hatred, prejudice, or intolerance, particularly abuse that seeks to silence the voice of those who have been historically marginalized. For this reason, we prohibit behavior that targets individuals or groups with abuse based on their perceived membership in a protected category. Lauren Alexander, Tweet's health product communication lead, said via email. Use of this term is prohibited under hateful conduct policy when it is used as a descriptor in context of discussion of gender identity. Twitter also said that it is aware that there are issues with how to enforce this rule. We recognize we have more work to do to ensure this content is addressed in a timely and consistent manner, and we continue to invest our automated tools and people teams to identify and address gaps in our enforcement. No, I was going to say this. It's kind of hard to enforce the suspension of accounts that use the word groomer when grooming just doesn't pertain to pedophiles or the LGBT community itself. In order for them to ban the word groomer, they have to make a statement that grooming is part of the LGBTQ community. Now, Twitter is notorious for having pedophilic content on their platform. So, will your account be suspended if you find pedophilic content and associate it with the word groomer? That's an honest question. Because if that's the case, then pedophiles are part of the LGBTQ community, according to Twitter. Which is, of course, that's exactly what they are saying by suspending Tim Pool's Twitter account. And yes, defense senator Tim Pool got suspended for using the word groomer on Twitter in a tweet that he posted. The Post-Millennial writes, breaking, Tim Pool goes to war with Twitter over groomer controversy. Let's scroll down here. Journalist Tim Pool went to war with Twitter on Monday after a social media platform locked him out of his account for criticizing groomers. Twitter just locked me out of my account. I don't care enough about Twitter for the tweet to stay up, so whatever. Fuck you, Twitter, Tim Pool tweeted on Monday, and here's the actual tweet there. In a series of tweets following Pool's announcement that Twitter had locked him out of the journalist slammed the big tech company for actively protecting and supporting pedophilia on their platform. Twitter actively protects and supports pedophilia, Pool wrote in a tweet post, followed by an abundance of posts containing screenshots of Twitter allegedly allowing pedophiles on their platform. Yeah, he went hard in the paint, dude. The headlines shared by Pool include Twitter lets pedophiles discuss their sexual attraction to minors. School argues Twitter is not placing sex offender notices on profiles. Twitter is accused of letting pedophiles discuss their sexual attraction to children. And Twitter is a breeding ground for the more normalization of pedophilia. And as we see here, these are all the posts that they were talking about. Following the Timcast journalist's criticism of Twitter, Pool announced that Twitter canceled his ability to advertise on Monday. So they took away his ability to advertise. The fact that Twitter allows and protects pedophiles and pedophilic content is concerning. Tim did a great job of calling them out, but at the end of the day, the left does a great job of providing evidence that the LGBTQ community has been overran with pedophiles. Now, and if you're against pedophiles infiltrating the LGBTQ community, go support Gays Against Groomers. And here's their Twitter account. You can give them a follow at Against Groomers. And this acronym there. Gays Against Groomers. And then if you want to support them a little further, how about heading to their websites? And here's their mission statement. We are a coalition of gays against the sexualization and indoctrination of children. Hell yeah. They need to start standing up and take their community back, man, is what needs to happen. That's what it's starting to look like. It's starting to look like pedophiles are seeing an open door to start, indoctrinating the community with their ideas. And so that way they can get backing when people try to attack them for wanting to touch little kids. And it's wrong. But anyways, that was trending.
Trump was too liberal. Tweet.
So I'll be honest with you guys. 9 times out of 10, most of my shit posting on Twitter happens on the toilet. And most of the content I grab for this show comes from me aimlessly scrolling on Twitter while sitting on the toilet. I came across a video of Matt Gaetz being questioned by a reporter on his comments at the SAS conference in Florida. And apparently Matt Gaetz, during a speech, said, "Why is it that the women with the least likelihood of getting pregnant are the ones most worried about having abortions? Nobody wants to impregnate you if you look like a thumb." It's kind of actually hilarious. Shots fired. And I have to respect Matt Gaetz for standing by his comments and not backing down when a reporter questioned him at a meeting that he was giving at this, it looks like an old folks home. Let's give a watch.
Explain
what you said and what you meant by that.
Well, I'm very pro-life, and I make no apology for it. And I'm grateful that Roe has been overturned and that Dobbs is now the jurisprudence on abortion. And I find these people who go out in these pro-abortion, pro-murder rallies odious and just like ugly on the inside and out. And I make no apology for it. I don't believe that every person who disagrees with my perspective on life is an ugly person, but the ones that are out there protesting and marching outside Justice Kavanaugh's home, trying to threaten the court, trying to impose a night of rage on our nation's capital, which is what they advertised, it's just pure ugliness. And I see that ugliness on the inside, I see it on the outside. Even in the horrible circumstance where an abortion may happen, it is nothing to celebrate and it is nothing to cheer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is it safe to say that based off of your comments, you're suggesting that these women at these abortion rallies are ugly and overweight?
Yes.
What do you say to people who think that those comments are offensive?
Be offended.
Mm-hmm.
Hats off to you, buddy. It was a little crass, but I like it. Just stay away from girls who say they are 18 years old. And as long as you do that, I think you're going to be okay. Anyway, speaking of people who are crass, Donald Trump is once again making libs shit their pants because each interview he gives, he puts 1 foot closer to that presidential line. And this brings us to the big lead for today. Is Trump going to announce a presidential run? That's the question on everyone's mind heading into the midterms. Trump has made hints about it at numerous rallies, but it was an interview with the New Yorker that set the tone for a possible announcement in the coming months. So as I bring this article up, I'm going to paraphrase a lot here because the reporter created a novel with this interview. And if we get to this article here, he starts off the interview with, "It was a beautiful day at Bedminster, New Jersey." He's setting the atmosphere here. Nobody cares. But so since I do have to paraphrase a lot, I'm not gonna scroll down to where it might. Oh no, maybe I did highlight it here. Yes, I did. There we go. Look at me. Look at me being proactive. Forgot I highlighted all this. So we'll just continue on here. Trump said to the reporter over the phone, "I feel very confident that if I decide to run, I will win." The reporter asks, "What would factor into such a decision?" Trump replies, "Well, in my own mind, I've already made that decision, so nothing factors in anymore." He continues, I would say my bid decision will be whether I go before or after. You understand what that means? The reporter says, midterms? Trump says, do I go before or after? That will be my big decision. I just think that there are certain assets before I let people know. I think a lot of people would not even run if I did that, because if you look at the polls, they don't even register. Most of these people, and I think that you would actually have a backlash against them if they ran. People want me to run. That's the gist of the interview. He added all this like wording and filler to make it sound like it. Stop it. But what a tease. What a tease. No, and if you're wondering why he's being so vague, consider this. Trump controls the PAC war chest. Now, if he declares a presidential run, he will lose control of the PAC war chest because he can't be controlling money like that while he's campaigning. The SEC doesn't like that. I think it's the SEC, right? Yeah. The war chest is essentially a fundraising tool for candidates he supports to help them with their campaigns. So the safe bet would be for him to wait until all the primaries are completed before announcing his bid so he can delegate money accordingly. No, and if despite what he said in that interview, you were still skeptical of him running again, he gave a speech last weekend in which he not only laid out his campaign agenda, but also gave us a new slogan without explicitly stating that he was campaigning. What he was saying was a campaign agenda and a new slogan. So at the America First Agenda Summit, Trump made his first visit back to D.C. since January 20th of 2021. And of course, he was met with protests. And here's a clip of that. Woo! What I find funny out of that little clip there while they're sitting out there protesting and doing their chants is they had in Trump's name the sickle and hammer. I don't think they know, but they're the ones who support socialism. No, that right there to show you they don't even know what the fuck they're protesting about. Don't even know their origins of their ideology. It's baffling to me sometimes when I see these people. They support socialism or communism, but then they sit there and show a symbol that they know as it being not a good symbol, which is the hammer and sickle because it's the Communist Party, USSR, Russia. But that's the same symbol that, is part of their ideology. It doesn't make any sense to me. Now, and it's like they sit there and they go, oh, and they throw their fists up, which is the communist fist. They're like, no, it means fight the power, man. I was like, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Anyways, I digress. So Trump gave an hour-long speech. He started it off strong by condemning Democrats for their abysmal 2 years while in control of the country. And then he said that the Republicans are going to win big because of it. Now, here's a clip.
Years ago, with the help of many people in this room, we had a booming economic recovery like nobody's seen before, the strongest and most secure border in U.S. history, energy independence and even energy dominance, historically low gas prices, as you know, no inflation, a fully rebuilt military, and a country that was highly respected all over the world by other leaders, by other countries, highly respected. Very simply, we had made America great again. We made it great again, and we did it by putting workers first, by putting families first, and above all, by putting America first. But now our country has been brought to its knees, literally brought to its knees, and who would have thought this could happen? Inflation is the highest in 49 years, 9.1%.
Yep.
A lot of people think it's much higher than that. Gas prices have reached the highest in the history of our country. We have become a beggar nation groveling to other countries for energy. Millions of illegal aliens are stampeding across our wide open borders, pouring into our country. It's an invasion. Democrat-run cities are setting all-time murder records. Our country is being dealt one historic humiliation after another on the world stage. And at home, our most basic rights and liberties are totally under siege. The American dream is being torn to shreds, and we will not have a country left if this economic, social, and attack on civilization itself is not quickly reversed. Newt Gingrich, friend of mine who's in our audience, told me this morning that our country has not been this weak in terms of prestige and relative economics and respect since the Civil War. And yet, there is time for us to bring America back from the brink. It's at the brink. Got to bring it back from the brink. We gather today on the verge of a historic midterm election. The American people are poised to reject the failed reign of Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and the radical left in a momentous landslide. This is an incredible opportunity. This November, the people are going to vote to stop the destruction of our country, and they're going to vote to rescue America's future. I'm here before you to begin to talk about what we must do to achieve that future when we win a triumphant victory in 2022 and when a Republican president takes back the White House in 2024, which I strongly believe will happen.
Yep. I hope so too. I hope so too. And in this speech, Trump was definitely more tactful than he was in the interview with the New Yorker. And shortly after that strong introduction, he spares no time and jumps right into what Republicans should do, which is him basically laying out his agenda. He touched on the homeless problem in America and provided examples of how to solve it. He spoke about restoring law and order, public safety, self-defense, preventing minor sexualization, keeping men out of women's sports, and of course, our border security. Now, all of those are winning policies to run on. These are issues that American people want addressed. But no, the one I believe is most important is restoring law and order. He wants to take American cities back from the jackbooted thugs and the criminals running rampant in cities like LA, New York, and Chicago. And here's a clip of that.
There's no higher priority than cleaning up our streets, controlling our borders, stopping the drugs from pouring in, and quickly restoring law and order in America. Under the Democrat rule in Democrat-run cities, Democrat-run states, and a Democrat-run federal government, the criminals have been given free rein more than ever before. There's never been a time like this. Our streets are riddled with needles and soaked with the blood of innocent victims. Many of our once great cities, from New York to Chicago to LA, where the middle class used to flock to live the American dream, are now war zones, literal war zones. Every day there are stabbings, rapes, murders, and violent assaults of every kind imaginable. Bloody turf wars rage without mercy. Parents are worried sick that their kids will get shot on the way to school or on the way back home. Sadists who prey on children are released on bail, but there is no bail and there is no bond. Unique, never happened before. Drugged out lunatics attacked innocent victims at random. Roving mobs of thieves walk into the stores and walk out with whatever merchandise they can carry. They're left alone. Nobody tells them, don't do this. Put it back now. Homeless encampments are taking over every public park and every patch of green space in previously beautiful urban centers, and the dangerously deranged roam our streets with impunity. We're living in such a different country for one primary reason: there is no longer respect for the law, and there certainly is no order. Our country is now a cesspool of crime. We have blood, death, and suffering on a scale once unthinkable because of the Democrat Party's effort to destroy and dismantle law enforcement all throughout America. It has to stop, and it has to stop now.
Trump's not wrong. No, when discussing violence in our cities, one of the first topics Trump brings up is our border security. No, and many people believe he is a racist because he claims we let a lot of criminals in through our open border, which they interpret as him referring to immigrants as criminals. No, you can believe whatever you want, but fentanyl, which is illegally brought in through our open border, is one of the most lethal substances killing Americans and fueling crime. And here's some articles to show you that. Close to 190K in fentanyl and heroin seized at checkpoints. Border Patrol agents arrested 2 undocumented individuals attempting to smuggle narcotics into the interior of the United States. Border Patrol agents seized over 200 pounds of fentanyl. U.S. Border Patrol agents arrested an individual attempting to smuggle approximately 250 pounds of fentanyl near Campo, California, early this morning. Fentanyl seizures at U.S. southern border are rising dramatically. You know, just a few articles there. No, and that's just what they catch, right? Who knows how much is making it through our border? Illegal drugs lead to gang violence, homelessness, robberies, and violent crimes. And when you have cities that don't enforce law because they see crime as poverty, you get people committing other crimes like rape and property crime because they know that they can get away with it. No, it's kind of like what happened to Lee Zeldin. I think that's how you say his name, Lee Zeldin. Lee Zeldin is a gubernatorial candidate in New York. You know, while giving a speech, he was approached by a man with a weapon. You know, and here's a clip of that.
For New York, and there's only one option.
Jesus. And if you guys didn't hear it, while he was approaching him with whatever he had in his hands, he was yelling, "You're done, you're done, you're done." It shouldn't have happened, you know. The man assaulted a gubernatorial candidate while wielding what could have been a lethal weapon. You know, he was released from jail just hours after the attack. You know, he was charged with felony assault, but was released due to New York's bail reform, which says bail cannot be set by a judge for nonviolent felonies. Many Democrat-ran states have similar bail reform laws. The state I live in, Washington, is having the same problem as New York. We are releasing a 3-strike felon who was convicted of second-degree murder, second-degree felony murder, and first-degree manslaughter in the death of a 14-year-old girl. After he made sexual advances to the girl, she refused him, and then he strangled her to death. Roy Russell was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of release under the 3-Strike Act. And here's the fucked up part of it. This is the second time he has been sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of release. And he is once again going to get released because legislators removed second-degree robbery from the felony list. And because that decision is retroactive, Roy Russell no longer has 3 felony charges. It's insane. Society cannot exist without law. Law is the bond of society, that which makes it, that which preserves it and keeps it together. It is, in fact, the essence of civil society. That was a quote from Joseph P. Bradley, who was a former associate of the Justice of the Supreme Court. The quote stays true to today. Removing accountability of law is tearing apart the American society. Fuck everything else. Fuck the culture war. Fuck censorship on social media. Fuck transgender issues. And fuck climate change. We need to fix our justice system first. It is our moral foundation. If we can't agree on what our moral foundation is made of, then how do we expect to fix everything else that is stacked upon it? We can't. You know? Trump listed a lot of things he wants to run on, but I believe his core agenda should be law and order, economic recovery, and the homeless problem. You know, and towards the end of his speech, Trump said what I believe will be his campaign slogan. I believe this because he says America First agenda and then alluded to a possible presidential run. So let's give that a watch.
Because while I have focused on public safety today, there's much more to the America First agenda, as you all know very well, looking into the future. And I look forward to laying out many more details in the weeks and months to come. It's just the beginning, but it's also, and we can say this to Brooke, it's also a policy. You can say conservative, you can say whatever you want. It's really a policy of common sense, and it's a policy of law and order. Hello, Alvita. How are you? Thank you. We have to do so much. We need to save our economy and stop the inflation crippling American families. We have to rescue our schools from the Marxist teachers' unions. We need to completely demolish the corrupt education bureaucracy and liberate our children. We need to protect. This is the craziest thing to have to say this, because who would ever think we have to say this? We need to protect parents' rights. Can you imagine? You're up here I'm a politician. I don't like to consider myself. I'm a politician, I guess. I ran for president. I won. Then I won a second time, did much better the second time. Did a lot better. Did a lot better. Very corrupt. I always say I ran the first time and I won. Then I ran a second time and I did much better. We got millions and millions more votes. And you know what? That's going to be a story for a long time. What a disgrace it was. But we may just have to do it again. We have to straighten out our parents.
Fucking Jesus, dude. No, and you can say what you want about Trump, but what you can't deny is his vigor. Trump is only 3 years younger than Biden. Think about that. Yes, Trump is crass, unapologetic, and is mean, but most leaders I know are all that as well. We live in a soft America, and we fear strong men because strong men get shit done by any means necessary. But what makes a strong man a leader is a strong moral foundation, and Trump has that. Trump is healthy, Trump is vibrant, and Trump knows how to end a fucking speech. And here's a clip of him doing just that. And this will be the end of our segment as well.
We inherit the legacy of generations of American patriots who gave their sweat, blood, and tears, and even their very lives to build this country into a free and virtuous republic, unlike anything the world has ever known. Our American ancestors stood their ground on Bunker Hill. They starved and suffered at Valley Forge, and they seized victory at Yorktown. So many great, incredible, dangerous, brilliant events. They ventured out and conquered an untamed wilderness. They settled the Great Plains, crossed the Rockies, and kept pushing westward. They raised families. They built a bustling city. They founded thriving industries. They rescued freedom from the evils of fascism and communism. And they planted our flag on the face of the moon. Think of what we've done. These courageous men and women gave everything they had to make America into the greatest nation in all of history. Greatest nation in all of history. But now we are a nation in decline. We are a failing nation. We are a nation that has the highest inflation in 49 years. And where the stock market just finished the worst first half of the year since 1872. Likewise, we are a nation that has the highest energy cost in its history. We are no longer energy independent or energy dominant, as we were just 2 short years ago. Think of it. We are a nation that is begging Venezuela and Saudi Arabia and many others for oil. Please, please, please help us, Joe Biden says. Yet we have more liquid gold under our feet than any other nation in the world. We are a nation that is consumed by the radical left's Green New Deal. Yet everyone knows that the Green New Deal will lead to the destruction of our country. We are a nation that surrendered in Afghanistan, leaving behind dead soldiers, American citizens, and $85 billion worth of the finest military equipment in the world. And we are a nation that allowed Russia to devastate a country, Ukraine, killing hundreds of thousands of people, and it will only get worse. And it would never, ever, ever have happened if I was your commander-in-chief. Would have
Damn
never
right,
happened. And it didn't. It didn't. For 4 years, it didn't. And China, with Taiwan, is next. We're a nation that has weaponized its law enforcement like never before against the opposing political party. Nothing's ever happened like what's happening now. We're a nation that no longer has a free and fair press. Fake news is all you get, and they are the true enemy of the people. We are a nation where free speech is no longer allowed, where crime is rampant like never before, where the economy has been collapsing, where more people died of COVID in 2021 than died in 2020. We are a nation that is allowing Iran to build a massive nuclear weapon, which they are incredibly being allowed to do right now as we speak. Would have never happened under President Trump. They were dying to make a deal. They would have made a deal with us right after the election, and it would have been a good deal. And China is being allowed to use the trillions and trillions of dollars it has taken from us to build a military, the likes of which possibly the world has never seen. And this also would never have happened with us. The level of speed with which they're going, it's a very dangerous thing. And just 2 years ago, we had Iran, China, Russia, and North Korea in check. They weren't going to do a thing against us, and everyone knows it, especially those leaders. And perhaps most importantly, we are a nation that is no longer respected or listened to around the world. We are a nation that, in many ways, has become a joke. We are a nation that is hostile to liberty and freedom and faith. We are a nation whose economy is floundering, whose stores are not stocked, whose deliveries are not coming, and whose educational system is ranked at the bottom of every list. But we are not going to let this continue. 2 years ago, we had the greatest. There's never been anything like it. 2 years ago. It's greatness like no one had ever seen. There's never been anything. We were outlapping China at levels that they never thought possible. China always thought they were going to be the world's biggest economy by 2018, 2019 at the latest, and they weren't even close because we were outdistancing something that they never thought could happen. But soon we will have greatness again. With all my heart and all my soul, I firmly believe that the American people will reject a fate of decline, demoralization, and ultimately a fate of defeat. And I believe that we will come together and choose instead a future of renewal, revival, recovery, resurgence, and in the end, a nation that is more exceptional than it ever was before. I believe we can do that. America's story is far from over. And in fact, we are just getting ready for an incredible comeback, a comeback that we have no choice but to make. We don't have a choice. We won't have a country if we don't make it. Through strength, we will restore our safety. Through hard work, we will rebuild our prosperity. Through courage, we will reclaim our liberty. Through love, we will repair our unity. Through success, we will rediscover our pride. And through unyielding determination together, we will make America stronger, safer, freer, greater, and more glorious than ever before. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a great honor. Thank you.
Damn right, Trump. Damn right. You know what, guys? This is what I'll say. Throughout that whole speech, it's probably about maybe an hour and 30 minutes long. Not once did he ever look down at a fucking note card. Ever. Ever. That's all off his fucking head. His whole speech. All of it. Oh, I'm sure he rehearsed some parts, but all of it. You know, Joe Biden can't fucking give a speech without fucking glancing down all the time, you know, or a prompter. And even at that, when he has the prompter, he still fucks it up. End quote. Repeat the line. Anyways, that ends the show, guys. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please hit the like button and definitely subscribe. If you do subscribe, make sure to ring the bell. I upload episodes weekly, and I wouldn't want you to miss out. You know, audio listeners, you can subscribe too. Thank you for listening. But hey, you know you wanted to watch the videos we played. You can watch the Deplorable Talk Show on YouTube, Rumble, and Facebook. You can listen to the Deplorable Talk Show on Spotify, Apple, Google, and Stitcher. You can find links in the description, or you can head to the Deplorable ENT. That is the general hub for all things deplorable. So take care, guys. See you next week.